if you're going to kill Bitcoin, you got to kill every single one of us in this room. And it was just not that obvious to me as I got deeper down the rabbit hole and got closer and closer to it, that yes, it is a extraordinary feat of engineering that, Satoshi, whoever he, she, they are, absolute genius of the highest class, that then had um, the most charitable thing someone's ever done just disappear. Like, arguably, like how do you walk away from that much wealth? Like, how does someone do that that's sane and not cave to human greed? Like, it's an extraordinary gift to humanity. But on top of that, yes, it's basically a software system that eats physical energy and stores value over time, and you can send, receive, etc. But it's also then, shout out to the Wizard of Oz, the first time I really heard this talked about, it's like Bitcoiners are the social layer that make the whole thing stick. And so there I was in Bali, and I was looking around me, and most of my Bitcoin journey to that point had been based in Australia. I'd been to a bunch of Aussie events, and I was suddenly in Southeast Asia, and you had people who were there from Japan, people there from Vietnam, people there from Indonesia, people there from Malaysia, people from Singapore and the Philippines. And they were all building on this thing. Thailand, Piria, for example, like huge audience in Thailand, had already hosted Bitcoin Bangkok. And you're like, my God. And they were all building on Bitcoin for different reasons. And they all had different problems to solve. And it solved those problems in different ways for all of them in such a manner that they're like, yep, this is the thing to do. And so when I see, what you just described in the Code Orange Developer School, it's just another part of that decentralization play where the more people that learn about this thing, the stronger it becomes. And that's not obvious on the surface.
Hey, look, we are Bitcoin because we are the node runners. So if you want to change Bitcoin, you have to convince us to upgrade our nodes. So yeah, decentralization and security relies on Bitcoiners. And this is why physical communities are so important. One of our goals at Code Orange is to inspire more Bitcoin houses. Why not have a Bitcoin cafe? Or you're in LA now, right? But I believe you're in Byron Bay in Australia. And then what's it like over there? Is there a little Bitcoin cafe? Is there a Bitcoin caravan, right? Or a Bitcoin beach or anything like this, right? So it's easier to spin one up than anybody would think. And I think we just need to drive this adoption and make the network more decentralized. It has to be dispersed everywhere. It's a lot of fun to hang out with Bitcoiners. What we have at the Bitcoin House is magical. It's amazing. I go there every single week. There's an event happening. We get more people. We have business opportunities there. We have a lot of fun, movie nights, games nights, Bitcoin for beginners. There's just so much happening. So we should, see more of this. And that's why we have workshop guides. If you ever wanted to run a node workshop in Byron Bay, for example, then everything is open source. It's on GitHub. We have slides. We have
cool.
all the guides. We just make it easy. And this is the way how we, as Code Orange Developer School, provide value to Bitcoiners. And that's just drives adoption. My bag is safer, and everybody is feeling more confident in Bitcoin space. So yeah, social hubs, very important, and we just drive adoption this way. It's good fun to hang out with Bitcoiners as we are doing now.
Yeah, and I definitely got another kind of lasting impression that I remember is when I went to the Bitcoin Bush Bash in Beechworth, which is a small ex-gold mining town in northern Victoria, just north of Melbourne. And there'd been all these crazy lockdowns that had been happening in the center of Melbourne. I suddenly was in a car driving 4 hours. I felt freedom for the first time in a while, and got there, and then suddenly was speaking to all these people. I was like, oh my God, I'm not completely insane, because you're so much of your time been spent researching online and listening to podcasts. When you meet people in person that have moved the majority of their wealth across into Bitcoin and life has started improving for them quite rapidly, it's incredibly empowering because you're like, oh my God, A, not insane, but B, look, all these other people are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
To answer your question about Byron, I'd love to see more, and just Australia in general, I'd love to see more Bitcoin adoption. There's a number of reasons why I don't think it's happened, but there is a meetup that happens once a month in Byron. Shout out to Lazarus who runs that, and they do some workshops and things like that for people that come in with questions at a very very beginner level. Um, it's one of the most freedom oriented parts of Australia, the Northern Rivers, so northern New South Wales, and in some ways, a lot of people that are already there think like Bitcoiners. They just haven't really figured out that the money is a big part of what they're working towards. So there's farmers markets that happen every week, and I've seen discussions about whether or not you could have a Bitcoin stand at each farmers market and try and get some merchant adoption through those events and things like that. But it's again it's manpower, right? People are stuck in their fiat jobs, and as much as they would love to do this, they're still like, I've just got to stack some more sats and focus on that first, and it will happen over time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I always encourage people to get to physical events if they can, because it makes a big difference. And I'd also then love to see more of these kind of accelerator style programs built where actually it's all about commercial opportunities. And now that you can vibe code, it's like, well, you got to kind of start at the problem. What's the problem someone's got? Okay, is it actually something we should solve? Okay, and then it's like, how could you do it? And suddenly you could start spitting out prototypes in half a day and see what floats and doesn't float using some kind of social media program. That would be very cool, but I don't think we're quite there yet.
Mm-hmm. Slowly, right? Those meetups from Lazarus, they evolve into workshops. Then they evolve into perhaps a Bitcoin house,
Mm,
Byron Bay house, whatever is,
mm.
and then maybe just a regular person comes in and learns about Bitcoin, and he or she has a coffee shop, right? And then if he or she becomes so hyped that it becomes a Bitcoin coffee house. So
Yeah,
they,
and you
they
suddenly
take
get a
time, right?
Bitcoin accepted here sign and stuff like that.
Exactly. And then they
Yeah,
invite
true.
you to record a podcast or so, and there's maybe a studio or maybe a recording studio, some guitar players, so it becomes a
Mm.
Bitcoin, and he says, hey, I have a mic as well. Hey Jake, do you want to come and hang out? And it just sky's the limit. Just it's a very interesting story how they just basically come up out of nowhere organically by spending time with Bitcoiners and just really having that mission, that belief, that understanding about Bitcoin. And yeah, it's just very organic. That's how Bitcoin House was born, completely randomly. We met uh, the owner, Iwan, at Noano. Very cool venue. Anybody visiting in Bali for September for conference, for example, in a month, come to Noano. Very cool place. And we met him over there. We orange pilled him. He liked us so much that he said, "Hey, you know what? I like your community. I have some space at my co-working space. I think I would like to give you some space." So that's how Bitcoin House started, just completely naturally, organically, from meeting one person at an event. And so yeah, meetups become workshops. Workshops can become schools or Bitcoin
Mm.
houses. So yeah, I'm sure it will happen everywhere.